to my channel. This is Priyadarshini. In this video, I'll discuss about the structure of lungs and the mechanism of breathing. I have also made videos on digestive system and the link is in the description box. So let's start our topic. In this video, we will discuss about the external and the internal structure of lungs and the mechanism of breathing. First, we will discuss the external structure of lungs. The lungs are soft, spongy and elastic organs which are pinkish in color. The uppermost portion of each lung is called as the apex and the inferior-most portion is called as the base. The left lung is smaller than the right and has a concavity which is called as cardiac notch. Here the heart lies. The left lung has two lobes, superior lobe and inferior lobe, which are divided by oblique fissure. Here this is the oblique fissure. The right lung has three lobes, superior lobe, middle lobe and inferior lobe, which is divided by horizontal fissure and the inferior oblique fissure. Now, the internal structure of lungs. Here we will see the internal structure of lungs consists of first secondary and tertiary bronchi. As soon as the primary bronchus enters each lung, it divides to form secondary bronchi. Here you can see the primary bronchus divides into secondary bronchus and then it divides into the tertiary bronchus. Bronchioles. The tertiary bronchioles subdivide into smaller branches, the bronchioles which are without cartilaginous rings. The bronchioles decrease in diameter and their epithelium also becomes thinner as they go deeper into the lungs. After repeated divisions, each smaller bronchiole enter a lung lobule called lobular bronchiole. Here you can see after so many divisions, lobular bronchioles are formed and then they further divide and terminal bronchioles are seen. The later gives rise to terminal bronchioles which further subdivide into respiratory bronchioles. Alveolar ducts, atria, alveolar sacs and alveoli. Here in the diagram you can see all the portions of lungs. The respiratory bronchioles open into alveolar ducts which terminate in expanded passages, the arteria, which in turn lead into the alveolar sacs or air sacs. The later open into the alveoli, which is also called as achini. There are 300 million of alveoli in two lungs. Epithelium. The wall of the alveoli has an extensive network of blood capillaries interspersed with elastic and reticular connective tissue fibers. Due to the intimate connection of blood capillaries with the alveoli, the exchange of gases takes place easily. Thus, we can say each alveolus may be called as a miniature lung where exchange of gases takes place. A film of lecithin lines normally the alveoli of lungs that lower the surface tension and keeps the alveoli open. Now we will see the mechanism of breathing. Usually respiration involves the following steps. First, breathing is in the inflow, which is inspiration and outflow of air between atmosphere and the alveoli of the lungs. Diffusion of gases, which is O2 and CO2 across the alveolar membrane. Transport of gases by blood, then diffusion occurs of both O2 and CO2 between blood and tissues, and then this is utilized by the cells for catabolic reactions, which is O2, and the resultant release of CO2 during cellular respiration. Now the mechanism of breathing. It means the inflow and outflow of air, which is inspiration and expiration, or inhalation or exhalation of air between atmosphere and the alveoli of the lungs. It is affected by the expansion and contraction of lungs. There are two processes by which the lungs are expanded or contracted. First is the downward and upward movement of the diaphragm, which increases and decreases the diameter of the thoracic cavity, which is the chest cavity. Here you can see in the diagram the diaphragms which increase and decrease the space. The elevation and depression of the ribs, which lengthens and shortens the thoracic cavity. First we will discuss inspiration, which is inhalation. It is a process by which fresh air enters the lungs. The diaphragm, the intercostal muscles and the abdominal muscles play an important role. First, diaphragm. The diaphragm becomes flat and gets lowered by the contraction of its muscle fibers, thereby increasing the volume of the thoracic cavity in length. The external intercostal muscles occur between the ribs. These muscles contract and pull the ribs and sternum upward and downward, thus increasing the volume of thoracic cavity. Now, abdominal muscles. These muscles relax and allow compression of abdominal organs by the diaphragm. The abdominal muscles play a passive role in inspiration. The movement of fresh air into the lung, thus overall volume of the thoracic cavity increases, and as a result there is a decrease of the air pressure in the lungs. The greater pressure outside the body now causes air to flow rapidly into the external layers, which is the nostril, and thus nasal cavities into the internal layers. Thereafter the sequence of airflow is like external layers, then nasal cavity, internal layers, pharynx, glottis, then goes larynx, trachea, bronchioles, alveolar ducts, and then directly to alveoli, where the oxygen passes into the blood of the capillaries and carbon dioxide diffuses out from the blood to the lumen of the alveoli. Expiration. It is a process by which the foul air, which is carbon dioxide, is expelled out from the lungs. Expiration is a passive process which occurs as follows. Here this is the diagram of expiration process. Here the diaphragm relax, making it convex, decreasing the volume of the thoracic cavity. Here you can see clearly the difference between expiration and inspiration. Internal costal muscles contract so that they pull the ribs downward and inward, decreasing the size of the thoracic cavity. Abdominal muscles. The contraction of the abdominal muscles, such as external and internal oblique muscles, compress the abdomen and pushes its contents, which is the viscera, towards the diaphragm. The intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles are muscles of expiration. Let us see how the movement of foul air, which is CO2, comes out of the lungs. Thus, the overall volume of the thoracic cavity decreases and the CO2 goes outside from the cavities of the alveoli in the following manner. First, it goes from alveoli to alveolar ducts, then bronchioles, then bronchi, then it goes to trachea, larynx, glottis, pharynx, internal layers, nasal cavities, external layers, and then outside. The process of expiration is simpler than that of inspiration. Thank you for watching my video. In the next video, I'll discuss about transportation and exchange of gases. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe. And do not forget to hit the bell icon. Thank you.